I started in New Kent, we are Blue Cross Blue Shield, it was so good. We had dollar prescriptions. That was something like it had prescriptions, I think.
Yeah.
But I could have bought anything, and I wouldn't pay more than $1. Now that I need this stuff, there ain't no dollar in it.
No. Well, do you get your wife insurance?
She only worked, she doesn't work now. But she worked hers from high school. That's way better than hers. But she doesn't work now.
Similar, I guess you just gotta wait until Medicare comes.
Yeah, so there'll be a 3-year, well, 2.5 year time period where I have to figure out what I'm going to do with health insurance until I'm 65.
Yeah.
I could stay working here and just pay the health insurance, what I pay.
Just to have it,
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, but then you gotta make sure you're working all the hours at that point. You can't really be part-time or anything like that.
No, I'm actually amazing on it.
Yeah.
I could do that for a couple of years, just to get it.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it is.
Maybe by then, maybe it's a little cheaper. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe by then they'll offer something different.
yeah. I'm surprised that they don't offer you guys the same as everybody else. I didn't realize that you guys use your which really makes sense to me, but I guess whatever they decide.
Well, because we get overtime. Like this is overtime. So if we were salary, we probably wouldn't get overtime.
Yeah, I don't get any overtime.
No.
No. It's written in my contract, no overtime, so.
So this is overtime for me. This part of my life. Overtime or time off?
Yeah, yeah. You moving around okay?
Yeah, I feel Monday and Tuesday, what's today, Tuesday? Monday, I felt pretty good. Today, after I got home, I felt like my almost normal self,
Mobility there?
Yeah, I have trouble, like if I have to bend it,
That gives you.
that gives me a little, like I look at it and go, oh, shit, how can I pick that up without bending? And like, so I can lift anything I want, except, like, if something's on the ground, I have to bend down, pick it up. I can't do that. If it's light enough, I
Yeah.
can. I'm not allowed to do.
I'm sure that that's not the biggest concern of yours.
Yeah. They told me that could all take up to a year before it's fully, yeah.
I'm sure it was, I'm sure you're glad that this is over though.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
This is all the same stuff that's on there. Did you know it was on there? Being long term?
Originally, I was told it was going to be, so the incident happened in June. I was told it was going to be 6 weeks. And then I didn't, have everything fixed back up. That 6 weeks turned into 7 months.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah. That's, you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. Little things here and there. Oh, this popped up and this happened now, and this is going on. We're going to wait for this to fix itself.
Hey, life is precious. It's funny, you ever been to, ever go to work?
Yeah.
There's a place called Joey's on the Edge. It's kind of
The only thing I've been to export is Devout Brewery in the export?
Helltown.
Or Helltown.
Yeah, it's basically right across the street from Helltown, but it's just a little smaller.
Yeah.
I don't go there very often, but I went there, saw a couple of kids from Franklin that I graduated with. I haven't seen them in 5 years. So I, talking to him. He's telling me this story about how he was 16 or 17, and he was drunk one night and ran up some, a hillside or something, and the car still worked, but, he was scared and blah, 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 and he almost killed himself. Driving 100 miles an hour on the back road, great idea. But he was telling me, the idea of like life is precious kind of thing. And then next day, I go golfing with some of my friends, and they were still at the bar that night. They told me he got kicked out because he was trying to fight a bunch of guys at Birthplace Society. It's just funny. People are stupid.
Yes.
That's a shame. Obviously, working in the school, the kids who don't care, they don't realize what they're truly doing to
Oh,
themselves.
yeah, I feel bad for some of them, I'll tell them, I'll say, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
And what's the answer? I don't know.
Well, we'll do this and that, or I don't know, and then I'm like, well, to do this and that, you need to do this first.
Yeah.
Because they're not gonna hire you, I mean, the looks.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't realize that, they think it's a joke. One kid I asked, he said, oh, I just tripped. You can't take it seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of it, I mean, you see yourself in 2 years, because there's either juniors or seniors, I'm like, more of them, start thinking about it.
Yeah. Whenever I was in senior year, I wasn't going to plan on going to school. I was just going to do WCCC, maybe do a year or two of business, and then just take over business from my dad. January, February came around. I didn't apply to any schools. My mom came walking in and said, here's St. Vincent, you're going there. So, okay, fill it out, submitted it, got accepted, ended up going there, and yada, 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 and now I'm here. And it's just, you don't know where life's going to take you, but you at least got to have some sort of
Yeah,
plan.
some kind of plan.
I wanted to take over the business, but
What's the business?
landscape.
Oh, that's tough.
It is, and there's not a lot of money.
There is a lot of money.
But you gotta be big.
You got it, well, yes and no. You got it work.
Yeah. That's the other side of it too. It's just, there's so many expenses
Yeah.
that it makes it so it's hard to make money at the end. If you're not working 50, 60 hours a week. And you gotta have employees to be able to do the work as well, because you get 4 or 5 college grads, that's fine.
Yeah.
But they're only there for 3 months. And that's how my dad does it. He won't.
Yeah.
But I threw it out there once or twice to my dad, and he shot it down because he doesn't want to deal with the headache of any problems. So,
I had a little grass cutting company. First me, it was the company to me. And I did it for many years. I made a lot of extra cash. And it worked.
you got to work for it.
And towards the end, I would hire, and nobody wanted to work, I would try to hire. And I was good school college, I don't know, with $20 an hour. Cash. You throw it down. And what they would show up for one day, and that would be it. And I'd be like, forget it, I can't do it. So I'm like, I'm gonna do one more year and I'm out. So
Yeah.
I rid all my customers.
It's hard because a lot of the people you build up a relationship with.
But see, that what would happen too, though, is you would come to their house and you'd say, oh, can you do the mulch? Plant these bushes for me? And I would be like, because I would never turn down money.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, but then, I was still working, I come home from work, I'd go out there,
Yeah.
exhausted, that's all. I don't know how I did that.
It's a long, long day. Because you work 10 to 12.
8 hour days.
Oh, it's just
I'd be home around 3 o'clock, I'd work 7 to 3, and then I get my truck, and I work from like 4 till, during the summer months, it's light out till 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'd work till 7, 8, 8:30, But that, after a while, it burns you out.
Oh, definitely.
But you can make some cash,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
but you have to have that mindset of, you want to work.
Oh, yeah,
You gotta be a worker.
definitely.
If you're not a worker, then you better have a good crew.
Mm-hmm. And that's always the hard part, is
That's
finding
the
the
real
people.
hard part.
I mean, we used, probably the past 12 to 15 years now, we've used the same family of boys. Luckily, we had older boys than younger brothers who were 5 or 6 years
Yeah.
younger, so it just transitioned, and then we got some cousins of those family members, so it's, you keep it close enough and trustworthy
Yeah.
enough where they also feel inclined to come out and not make themselves look bad or their family. But,
And we got 2 out there in North Brother. We got the TLC and Sharina brother.
still got, still got, or you met companies out there.
Yeah, there's 2. There's TLC and Sharina brother. Yeah, no, I haven't cut in about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, about 4 years.
Honestly, that's the only reason my dad cut was because of the extra work. He couldn't care less about cutting grass.
Yeah.
I mean, we just used little Honda bush mowers because it was,
Yeah.
he just wanted an easy cut. He liked the small house, like Churchill size, and then you get the mulch with it, which makes tons of money.
Yeah.
You get the trimming with it, and, whatever else they went down, plum leaves, whatever. And that part was always good because you just go and it's straight labor.
Yeah. That's why, I would think all my customers were small lots. I had a couple of them, bigger, most of them, because I just use a push mower.
Yeah.
And so they get all in my truck, which is neat.
And, just cash, you spend money.
Well, there's, during the summer months, spring through fall, I had to use my account.
Just using the cash. Everything under. Get his truck.
This is ruined, this is ruined, this is ruined. Yeah. Did it for too long.
He's going to be ejecting me from the meeting.
Well, do you want me to do it now or later?
Hey, I'm a retired cop, so you can kick
Where'd
me
you
out.
retire
Penn Hills.
from?
I was the first female they hired, and the guys I worked with harassed me more than the people in the street.
Nice. Yeah, nice. How long did you work at Penn Hills?
26 years.
Oh.
Until they went, you get the hell out of here, you're nuts, lady.
I worked at Buchanan, I retired from Buchanan.
Ah.
Yeah, in 18.
Oh, so now you're a Plum cop. Oh, school. Oh, see, because if you were Plum, I was going to say, I live on Garlow Boulevard, and the name that I would tell you who I lived across the street, you would look at me and go, I feel sorry for you.
What, do they have any kids?
No, but this kid has been brought back with Narcan more than 28 times.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, 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 and it's not,
No.
I'm a bum.
Nice.
No, because I'm nuts. That's why I kind of got kicked off.
I could be a, I don't like the term wrong, but I could be a slut. You know what I mean? I could sit home all day.
No,
I
because
could do that. I mean,
I'm,
I'm not, I could work, or I can be the exact opposite. I can do that.
no, I'm bored, and I worked undercover for like 6 years, and I miss it, because now when you drive around and you see something happen, I still have this urge to jump out of my car, and I go, wait, I don't even carry a gun right now. My license plate on my car, I'm stable.
That's actually good, because if I was a policeman, still, I would see that, I probably would say, yeah, like, what do I have to say?
Well, you know what, a lot of people speed up and like go to tailgate me, they pull up and they start reading that, and then they start backing away. And then the other, I have a crazy crazy dog, but, well, now this one is an asshole. I don't need him for 2 months. He was returned to the breeder once already. And I don't know why I keep getting donations. They're all nuts. But then the canine guys, when I asked them what to do with them, they said, why do you keep getting them? Like, I like them, they're pretty.
So why would we throw you out of here?
Because I'm pissed about the potential 6% increase in taxes when I have a solution to they don't have to build on to Pivot School, which isn't even, I don't think it's 10 years old yet, Pivot.
Yeah, I don't know, it's newer, I don't know. the
Yeah,
ages. I don't know.
exactly. You don't need to build onto it. Do what other school districts have done. Buy a couple trailers, turn them into classrooms, and use them. Or does everybody in Plum think they're too good? Can you tell I wasn't born and raised in Plum? I live here at Plum, but hey, I was
Well,
born.
Just don't be crazy.
I'm sorry, I have papers to prove I'm nuts, okay? When somebody says you're crazy, I can look at them and say, hey, I have papers to prove I'm nuts. So there. Yeah, but, but New Kensington, that's a tough place, man.
Yeah, I was there 30 years.
Damn. See, I think that's one of the only places, because I was in the task force and we bought dope everywhere. And I was like, I bought dope in Clare, Wilkinsburg, even Connellsville. And I always would love for you to say, the teacher would say, are you a cop? And I'd look up and go, yeah, I am, now give me my shit.
Yeah.
They
Because
all-
you have to tell us. If you want.
They do, they think that.
Yeah.
And then my other line was, I can be whatever you want me to be. I was 80 pounds lighter. This is from all the antidepressants I've been on. But they do, they think you have to tell them the truth.
I don't believe anything.
Well, I used to like to go to court. The ADAs downtown used to love reading my reports because I would put in all my reports exactly what the guy would say to me. And they would look at it, look at me and go, did he really say that to you? And I would testify that while the girlfriend or wife were sitting there in the courtroom. I'm brutally honest.
That's all right.
My family would even look and say, yeah, she's brutally honest, all right. But yeah. It's crazy.
It'll be a good meeting
I don't know. I figured there'd be more people.
tonight. It's still a little early.
Yeah.
Still got 15 minutes.
And then I'm gonna go to the council meeting because a guy I worked with, he got elected on the council, Jerry Purcell. Mostly everybody knows Jerry. He was a canine and he would do impersonations of like Howard Purcell.
Many years before you.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I graduated in 2018, so I'm a newbie here.
Because you said you were going to practice too.
Then why would you?
I know, I won't
Or
say
he
that.
announced me the thing,
No, I
he
won't
was
say
as
that.
well. I can't remember his last name, it's Steve something. And then, there was another lady, she plays TV roles.
I want to say that they just cut those long words. They cut them big deer. Yeah. They're not raising their kids.
Never mind it. I didn't know any different.
I want that same deal. I'm a senior citizen. I'm old, I'm gonna penny.
Dad was the
I
teacher
have no
in
children.
middle school.
I've been
He
paying
was
so
the guidance counselor in
28
middle school.
years.
He may have retired.
God
before
look
you.
at, she wants to shoot kids and should be slamming them against the wall.
No,
When did he retire?
No, I
I
still
don't know. That's what I think he probably retired before he went through.
Probably.
When I went through, he was a biology teacher.
How
At
did
the
you?
time I was in.
Janitor, I pulled up and I said, where's the library?
Oh,
And so he let me in, he let me
Yeah,
in.
he probably
yeah.
graduated. He
Retired.
probably retired before you went to middle school.
No, I broke in.
didn't.
I probably.
I was just wondering if I saw the cameras. I know there's
No, I don't
no
know.
security guard at the front anymore.
Makes sense.
And I, well, this was a block.
Well, see, that's why I drove by and I went, okay, well, that must be the library, but when I pulled that way, I saw the guy sitting at the
Be taken to school.
No,
He's
he's
a
a
janitor.
That's not cool, right? Mom, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, we have 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
At
Go
home.
outside and see if we can find anybody else to come
At least for now.
in. Yeah.
And you don't have to. I mean,
Good.
I think we're missing the Zoe track night.
Yeah, yeah. I miss some of these things. I think
That is the kind of agenda. They're not gonna like mine. That's what I was told.
That's what I was thinking. I'm not, my routine is having my tea, relaxing until 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock. I need that tea. Yeah, that's as long as I can do that. I know, bro, 15 minutes. Yes. Hi, friend.
Tired.
Did you get to go home? Did you stay or no?
I had to run an errand, but then I came back.
Oh, so you didn't go home?
I can't go all the way out.
It's too
Too
far.
much traffic. Do you know what I mean? Because then you're sitting in traffic.
Did you get to eat?
Oh, my stupid smartphone. Yeah. But, you know, Carrie made that Chex Mix, so I was picking up that.
Oh, did you dinner?
They eat all kinds of crap over there.
Put you on it, should be ready to go there.
I guess I'm all wired up with these guys.
No, I'll be crashing here in a minute. You rotate these or do you pick them up? Or?
So glad.
No, Tim signs.
Whoa!
So at the beginning of the school year, we get a list of what days we get the school board meeting. Now, once that list comes out, if I have a day on there where I don't want it, I'll say to whoever, if anybody don't mind, I'll take theirs, because I have something to do. That could happen. But this, he assigns us this. And we, the other overtime, we pay.
Right.
So what's happening, we're doing the swim season now.
Unless nobody picks it
So
up
our
and forces
last
somebody.
meeting is Thursday.
Where's the new guy? Can you start yet?
Here next week.
26th of February.
And then after that, that's regular season. And then like the whip.
You seemed okay. I was having those interviews.
I've
There's a
never
last
worked
chance
for
meet
them.
on Friday, so a couple of other swimmers are gonna try and get really close against, and also at
He
that
works
time.
here.
On Friday, so they're gonna try to
Me
do
and
that.
Bud.
Other than that, I mean,
The shift was 10
the
to
group's
6.
pretty finalized, so he has who he's like, I think he has ideas for relays.
Very rarely, it
He
seems
has
like-
alternates, like,
It seemed like a year ago, last year they were coming more often.
Yeah.
This year,
almost,
it doesn't seem like they're coming at all.
and then that's just like high school, and then the weekend after. So the second weekend of March is like our club team districts.
What are you
and then
presenting?
that's kind of like.
I don't know if I'm presenting anything. They're voting on my pit stuff.
And then I'll be doing.
But I'm here if they have questions. But they,
Are you gonna do it?
I'm
Yeah.
assuming they're gonna call me
I
up
haven't
here.
been to one of the, they're having a couple like meetings and stuff. I
Public
haven't-
I'm gonna stand back here with a big sign.
This weekend.
Public
And then I'll be
speaking.
next Saturday. But this one will be great, so it'll be fun. I am
I'm
excited,
gonna throw
yeah.
something
I've heard
back.
some good news.
How many, do you know, wall cameras?
I know the first weekend there wasn't that many at one clinic, but
Oh,
the actual like
this
group
is
of
first
girls
time.
who had really meeting that was during that activity period last week. I think it was, or 2 weeks ago. It was pretty impressive. I mean, it took us like a quarter of the other one. like half
September
of
and
one
February?
is like thirds.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so. I know it's,
I think
I
more
looked at the
February.
spreadsheet today, it is February. The last one was
We've been there after
September, or no, maybe October.
Things that are happening.
Looking for a specific
We're
day.
like, oh, this is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
Gotta get photos of the
Especially
demographics
since it's
that are
first year, so
I think
if it
February.
like really hits at this time next year, or whatever, if it comes back, like, more people are gonna be inclined to do it.
But anyway, yeah, what's the one on this one?
Add it to my list.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay out of camera as much as possible, but I also have to.
This is the one that records. This camera up here, or, I'm sorry, this camera up here.
Okay.
So it does this, and then sometimes I'll put it on the screen, but it never does past here. As far as what we post online.
Okay.
This, the camera you're seeing now is just my backup in case for some reason we have a failure with the,
So that's what, that's,
that's just my backup. Oh, there we go. This is Mr. Country.
all right.
Password change. Promise it will be managed.
You say you were trying to stay out of the.
Trying to stay out of the limelight. Off the limelight.
Type run twice, hit enter, and we're good to go. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I covered a thing in Fox Chapel, and students were doing stuff for recognition month, and I was trying to get photos, and like, for a good like minute and a half, I'm like all over the screen.
Password has been changed. There you go, sir.
I
Wish it was that easy at home.
I know. That is the one bright side of having it just right here.
In person now, they're doing online, they're gonna be remotely, projecting it onto the screen. But the presentation itself is already online. So if you need just like the data, picture or something, it's already online and it's in the document.
Who's gonna be doing, presentation that, or
8:30.
they're not here, you're gonna be doing
There is
first?
some kind of presentation in front of me, so.
Oh.
See, it takes me 15 minutes to get home, so even if it's not, I'm just saying, even if it's 9 o'clock. I'll be home in 15 minutes.
Good for you.
Well, hey. Oh my God, it's gonna be out
Like, welcome back here.
I know, yeah.
Happy your third day of work.
Yeah. And that's what you
Oh, okay, fair point. Yeah. Yes. Well, what? I'm asking you like you know, like you've read this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think right now how to answer that without offending you. I really can't think of ways.
I don't see.
So here's my prediction.
What they found.
Idiots. Okay. What's that?
Good morning, how are you? Good. Well, I wasn't good until about 30 seconds ago. Those are replaceable.
It's probably the best thing to drop in your mouth. All the things you could drop.
Yeah, it's better than your computer.
Probably the best one. How are you guys? Good. Like, you know.
I'll be right back.
This is where I'm at. So I need to sign back in.
I swear to you, that happened last time we were here in December. And I was just waiting, like,
No, is that a Stanley?
Type in that password and just type it.
Cleaning it?
I rip it
If that
apart.
doesn't work, we can always
Well,
reset it again.
So it was on the news.
Yeah, you gotta rip it apart. Yes, I've watched it on the TikTok. Instagram, so I don't watch TikToks too. But I watch Instagram. I saw her rip it apart and clean it.
It was on MySpace. It was on MySpace.
But it is gross, all the different parts and getting old and stuff. So I'm with you there, Jill. I didn't really get the point, but the point is you can put it in a cup holder. You know what I mean? Because I had that huge hydro flask, and it's like this wide, it's not fit, and then it's like rolling all in my car, it's rolling, right? So I was like, what's the point? But because it fits in the cup holder, there's a point. There's really
How many ounces is that one?
40. 2 a day keeps the doctor away.
Drink 2 of those?
I try, that's the goal. Yeah.
Walk this way. Isn't that unbelievable? And then, yeah, well, thanks for the backup.
I was going.
You're like, I'm out of here, bye.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm good.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I wanted to do this.
He was all about it, Georgia.
Oh.
Pretty good.
Good to see you.
Jen, would you like a piece? Would you like a piece? Really good.
This is what
I had no idea.
Last night for, yeah, my thing.
Okay.
That was fun.
And then I filled up again, but then it's like,
Yeah, makes you sell it.
It was behind.
Yeah, that's
We had shit.
Send button.
I think you're still on board meetings there.
The only reason I know is I've seen it happen a hundred times.
Sometimes.
We did the old one,
Yeah,
yeah.
I always forget.
We have sewage
You
issues.
need to come to my house and help me with this person. What's that?
We have sewage issues and stuff in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Building.
I get it.
No, I'm not sitting on the board, so we're fine.
No, I'm not there either.
Oh, I did the budget workshop on Saturday. Lots of notes. Well, for the state.
What's that?
I did the budget workshop for the
For the
state.
state?
Yeah. Lots of ways in which they're, we basically like utilize your tax dollars still back to your basic income, how you get money, but also sort of like no increase to like health. So what the state picked up where the federal government money dropped in COVID, right? So it's an increase for the state, but no increase is coming to us. It stays the same.
Yeah, the state's taking it on.
But I'll get that report later. Yeah. Megan looks so festive.
She's ready for
I thought Valentine's was today. I was a whole day off. I was like, Alex, here's your Valentine's stuff. And then he wakes up this morning and he goes, do you have more for me tomorrow? Because today, I'm like, yeah, I have off a day.
Get to celebrate for 2 days, that's it.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the February 13th, 2024 discussion meeting. Please rise for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Macro, roll call.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Dr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Arendt. Here. Ms. Chudowitz. Here. Mr. Caligiuri.
Here.
Dr. Richardson.
Here.
Mr. Sokolsky.
Here.
Mrs. Stepnick.
Here.
Mr. Strotke.
Here.
And Student Representative Ms. Scullert. Here.
Thank you. The board met in executive session on January 24th, 2024 and February 13th, 2024 to discuss matters of education purposes, litigation, safety, personnel, and real estate. We'll move on to citizens' comments. Ms. Macro.
If anybody in the audience would like to make citizens' comments, we ask that you stand at the podium one at a time. State your name, your residency within Plum. You'll be provided 3 minutes to speak to the board. Just a reminder that this is a time where you are able to share your suggestions and comments with the board as opposed to a question and answer session with the board. I will put a timer up on the screen so you can also manage your own time, but I will give you a 30-second warning when you're getting close to the end of your time. When you're finished speaking, if you would please step to the end of this table here and just write your name on the clipboard so I spell it correctly on the minutes. Is there anybody that would like to speak at this time? You can step to the podium, please.
Hi, my name's Susan Leisure. I live in the Garlow area of Plum Borough. I've been a resident here for more than 28 years. When running for the school board, most of you said you wouldn't raise our taxes, and that's why I voted for most of you. Now, you're raising our taxes more than 6%. Most of us taxpayers have to cut our budget. Why can't you? You're going to give Longwood a big tax break. I want the same break since I've been paying for more than 28 years, and I have no children. I'm a retired senior citizen living penny to penny. I deserve a break too. Senior citizens should be capped like the agreement you're reaching with Longwood. Pivot School isn't that old of a school, and you're claiming it needs additions already. I call that poor planning. How about getting trailers and turning them into classrooms like many other school districts have done and save us taxpayers money? Have you applied for grants instead of pushing all the burden on us taxpayers who are already struggling in this economy?
do your job and make cuts and stop raising our taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments at this time?
Hi, Debbie Bell. I guess this goes to Dr. Walsh and Mr. Dice. After the meeting this evening, can I speak with you two personally concerning an issue that I don't want to bring out in public format? Thank you.
Are there any other citizens' comments? Okay, we'll move forward. Academic achievement and activities, myself as lead board liaison. We have grants and donations awarded 1 through 5 here. Ms. Miller, Ms. Kirkowski, Ms. Smith, Ms. Billingsley, and Ms. Kemmer are doing excellent work as teachers through Donors Choose for the most part here. Any questions or concerns or discussion? Do we have 5 to move them forward? Thank you. All right, and now we have our presentation from Davis Demographics. Dr. Walsh.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Just a brief recap on some of the conversations that we've had as a board in regards to looking at our district moving forward. In January, we met with the Hayes Design Group to go over recommendations in regards to plans, particularly focusing on some of the buildings that we need to focus on infrastructure, but also looking at space and how we're utilizing the space. In February, we reviewed the financials and what that would look short and long term for any potential plans moving forward. The third prong, which I shared with this board, was we need to have an understanding of our demographics. What will it look like going into next year, 3 years, 5 years, and even 10 years out? But I'm sure you're going to hear briefly that anything beyond 5 years is a challenge because of the economy and new developments that may surface. So the purpose of this is to give this board all the information that you need in regards to making some very big and important decisions in regards to the direction that this district's going to, how we're going to move forward. So this evening we have Davis Demographics that is here to share their data and their methodology and how they got to these numbers. Mr. Manzer, is there anything you'd like to add to this, or you?
No, I think you've covered our steps that we followed to get to this point, and I think it's critical information that we consider moving forward.
Okay, Ms. Macro, who do we have online here this evening?
I'm going to turn the meeting over to Georgia Leonard, who is with Davis Demographics. Georgia, are you able to hear everything okay?
I can hear you. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, you can go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, it is good to be with you all again. It is, as always, a pleasure working with this district. So we're just going to go ahead and just jump right into it. So this is our third forecast in about 6 years. We do one every other year for you guys. And Jennifer's going to drive for me, so while I speak, so if you hear me say next please, it's for Jennifer's driving. So next please. All right, so as every year, every time we do a forecast, we do the same thing. We acquire data from the district. We analyze everything that we have. We go through the QA/QC process to make sure that the data we're working with is high quality and without any errors or duplicates and any kind of issues that may cause any kind of skewing in the data. Jennifer is always very, very fantastic when it comes to working with us. We also reach out and work with David Service-Lane with the borough, and he provides us other information regarding development. We bring all of this data together along with some other information we're going to go over, and then we put together your forecast. Next, please. So this lovely diagram, as some of you have seen before, is our methodology individual frame. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over this particular thing. What I do like to always point out is the biggest box on here is your student data. We take special care in making sure that the student data that we start with is good, because as the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. So we want to make sure that we start with really, really good data, provide you a very, very good forecast. Next, please. And as I mentioned, with that student data, we go through QA/QC process. We get it from the district, we provide it back, everybody signs off on it, we're looking at it from different angles to make sure that there's some issues, and there's duplicates, and then we get it signed off on, and then, next please, we do something called geocoding. And by geocoding, this means that we are putting these all on a map. So by these students' resident address, we can then put them on a map. And we do this for all 4 years of their student data. So with us working with you every other year, every time we work together, we're doing 2 years at a time. And this is really important because when we go into forecasting, there are certain variables and certain factors that look at each of those years. And so as you can see, by this very zoomed in frame on the map, each of these dots represents a student, and each color is a different year. So again, this is just zoomed in, not the whole district. So next, please. Okay, so once we get all of your students on a map, then we can do what we call a density map. It's kind of similar to what you would get like a weather forecast. You see the gradient colors, the yellow indicates more intense population, denser population. And then as the population is less, then you'll get into the blue areas. Doesn't necessarily mean there's no students living there. It's just there's not as many to really pick up on that density. Next, please. And then the other component that we look at is your attendance areas. Now, since we have worked with each other for several years, we already have your attendance areas. But every time we do get back together, I evaluate them and make sure that there's nothing that has changed, nothing that's been modified. We work with something we call steady areas. And each of these steady areas that you see on this map, again, this is a zoomed in version, you'll see them at a district-wide scale later. And they're kind of neighborhoods where we go in and we cut them in on, we look at your attendance areas, we cut them down by major roads, if there's a natural barrier, different subdivisions, etc. We cut them down. On average, 50 to 100 students should fit within a single study area. Because what happens is when we do the forecast is technically run, and the variables are applied to each of those individual study areas, and then it's kind of culminated to the bigger picture. In this case, you guys have 288 study areas for the district, and every year I evaluate them. I see how many students are in each study area. Do I need to cut anything down? Has anything changed geographically that might need to be addressed? So right now we're sitting at 288. Next, please. Okay, so now we've got two different sets of spatial data. And then we can do our first round of analytics, and we give you your attendance matrices. Your attendance matrices allows us to see where your students live and versus where they're going to school. In your district, since you all have 2 elementary schools, for the most part, most of the students that reside in their attendance area attend their attendance area. But there's a few differences. So I'm going to read this chart left to right and hopefully explain it. So for example, Oak Elementary has, so think of this spatially, they have 490 students that live in that attendance area. Of that 490, 488 attend O-Block, while 2 of those students go to Pittsburgh, okay? Then when you look at Pittsburgh, you have 740 that 740 that live in the attendance area. 15 go to O-Block, while 725 of those students go to pivot, okay? And then when you go down, like looking from top to bottom, you're able to see that there are 503 resident students. Looks like there's some issues, I'm hoping y'all can still hear me. 503 resident students, 0 students that are coming in to O-Block from out of district, and there's 0 unmatched. Can y'all see me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Making sure there's no complications. And so that kind of comes together. So overall, you have 1 unmatched student, 5 non-resident students, and there's reasons for those that we're not going to go in here. But so that's your attendance, major receipts, and for the district. Next slide, please. Alrighty, utilization and transfer analysis. Again, this is kind of looking at capacity and seeing how that capacity is treated for resident versus enrolled. And so for O-Block, we have a capacity of 512. And so looking again at those 490 resident students, if all of the 490 resident students and only those 490 went to O-Block, then you'd be sitting at 95.7% resident student utilization. However, we're looking at enrollment, and you're enrolled at 503, so you're sitting at 98.2%. So the right side of the chart just kind of goes into students that are transferring in and transferring out, and just kind of seeing how those numbers come into play. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to get into the factors that can influence the forecast. Okay, and the factors that can influence the forecast are birth rate, mobility, and student yield factors, class development. So this particular one are your birth factors. We are able to get the births from the borough, or from the state by the borough. So there's specifically students that were born in your borough. And we work under the assumption that those kiddos are going to be starting 5 years after they're born. And so in this particular case, our base year, our students that were born in 2018, we anticipate they're going to start kindergarten in 2023. And so that's what we measure the forecast up against, right? What's that net change of students going across the next 10 years? For this case, if you're at a 0, then you're maintaining. If you are below a 0, then you are losing. I say losing, but you're not there's the word. You're not replicating or reproducing enough to sustain, right? That one factor. However, if you're above a 1, then you are there's a sign of growth. In this case, y'all have about a 90%. So there is a sign of slight decline in your births. I want to point out, this is something we are seeing across the entire United States. This is not something just specialized in y'all's area, okay? Next slide, please. Okay, mobility factors. Mobility factors goes into looking again at those 4 years of student data, right? We've got our current year and the 3 years of historical student. These are specifically derived from your student data. There's no other calculation, no other piece of information that comes into play with this. And so I'll read this to you left to right. So for example, O-Block Elementary School, the mobility factor as those students go from kindergarten into first grade is 1.04. Okay, so what that means is as those kindergartners are transitioning into first grade, are you maintaining them 100%? Are you losing a few, or are you gaining a few? So in this particular case, you are gaining 4 kiddos, or 4%, I should say. An example here, if you have 100 kindergartners and you have a rate of 1.04, then as that 100 transitions into first grade, you will have 104 students. Okay, so it's showing you that percent change based on that student cohort as they go from one grade into the next. All of these numbers show inward mobility, okay? People moving or students moving into your district, whether they have live there and they're now enrolling in your district, or they're new residents to your district and their student is enrolling in your district. All of these numbers, as you see in the green, are really, really good numbers. And this is why you have and this is a really, really direct reason why you have a stable forecast, and we'll get into that later. But, and for those of you that see that 0.93, that is not unusual to see that going from 10th grade to 11th grade. And so it's not, in my mind, it's not significant. It is the only low number you have here. And I say low is relative, right? It's the lowest number on the screen. But it is not unheard of to see that going from 5th grade to 11th grade. Next slide, please. All right, student meal factors. Student meal factors is, we use this and apply it towards future development, okay? But we calculate this using existing, okay? So we take those geocoded students, once again, right, they're that important. We take those geocoded students, we take parcels, and we overlap them, right? So we're able to see specifically where each of those students live and what housing type they live in. And we go through a process where we tag these students, we tag this housing by type, and then we can then create a factor based on the student's grade and how many of those students per grade live in each housing type. And we get the student meal factors. So what this means, for example, in let's say single family detached, you have a total K-12 rate of 0.85, okay, 852. Over there it says 853. But basically what that means is for every 100 single family detached units being built, we would anticipate 85 students to come from, 85 K-12 students to come from those 100 homes. But what I want to caveat with is not only is it K-12, but it's over the duration as the units take to build, right? They don't build overnight, so those students don't appear overnight. And it is that 85 is spread across all 13 grade levels. So sometimes, we see that 85 and we think, oh my gosh, it's a lot of kiddos. It does sound like a lot of kids, and it is. It's a really, really good number. But just keep in mind that it's spread across the 13 grade levels, and it's however long it takes that neighborhood to stabilize, right? By the time that neighborhood stabilizes, that's when we anticipate to have about 85 students living there. Okay, next slide, please. All right, this is a map of your development, so you can kind of see where they are located around the district. You do have 9 projects that are currently active or planned. There are 299 units of development being applied in the forecast. Taking that student yield factor we were looking at earlier, and you do the math, we're looking at about 254 K-12 students, okay? So the majority of those are in the O-Block elementary school in this area. So here's the thing, while you do have a really, really good student yield factor number, we don't have a ton of development. We have good development, but it's not this crazy number that you're going to see in a lower number from, okay, at this time. Next slide, please. These 2 pie charts just kind of break that development down a little bit further. You see that 70% of the units, 70% of the development is expected to be an O-Block, and 87% of the development is single-family detached. Next slide, please. Okay, so now that we've brought together all those variables, we've walked through methodology, then we're able to see the forecast. Again, this is resident-based forecast, but in y'all's district, that is actually pretty indicative of what's happening based on enrollment as well. So let's see, there's a few things I want to point out about this. You do have a few bubbles, and I'm going to try to verbally communicate this since I don't have like a highlighter. And looking at, okay, let's go. Looking at the current school year right now in 2023 and grade 3, We have about 267. So you've got this bubble coming through, and as you see that reddish, now the reddish shade transition into green, bolder green. So by the time that cohort started in 2020 was 232 students. Due to that mobility that y'all have, you can see that red squiggly line. By the time that cohort ends up into 12th grade, they're sitting at 333 students, okay? So you do have, that's where you're seeing that mobility come into play as they kind of go down like this. And that's why this shaded red to green is so important, because it lets you see that while you're starting off with a smaller class cohort, you are picking up students due to people moving into the neighborhood. Okay, that blue squiggly line you see going from left to right, that is your impact on development. So as you see, you know, going from grade to grade, or year to year, I should say, year to year, there's not a whole lot of change. So granted, some of that is not mobility, but as you can see, there's just not a whole lot of growth or steady change there because there's just not a whole lot of development impacting those year-to-year numbers, okay? I'll do more of a recap in a second. Looking at currently back when the student data is as of this past fall, there was reported 3,561 students. If we were to look all the way to 2033, you're just shy of about 100 students less. This is a very, very stable population due to your mobility, okay? But I'm going to tell you something, and I tell this to all my clients. Focus more, and like the gentleman said earlier, focus more on the first 5 years. Because those are the variables, the factors that we have a high degree of confidence in. That's the birth rates, right? Because those kids have been born, and whereas when it comes to the latter half of the study, we're having to forecast what we anticipate those births to be. And as we've seen in recent years, so many things can influence births, right? Whether it be the economy or pandemic or something, you know, in between. And the same thing with development. There could be building supplies that goes up, or you know, the economy can make the adjustments. So development, we have a really good foundation of what's going on right now. But even as what we've seen in your current development, there was a project, and forgive me, I don't recall the name of it. But you know, 2 years ago, it was building up and getting ready to start construction, and then it got canceled due to a gas easement that didn't come into play. And so those are things that can change. And so right now, this is a high degree of confidence in the first 3 to 5 years. Okay, the further out we get, the fuzzier, the brighter those numbers become. And that's what I didn't forecast we ever look at. So that's this. All right, next slide, please. So this is kind of in summary. It's looking at your 10-year resident student forecast. It brings in those non-resident unmatched. It's just kind of a running average. So you see like the 6 is the current, 7.8 is a running average of the net change of the resident forecast is applied to. So you get 7.8, 7.7, etc. And then we add that all back together into your total student forecast. And that's where you see the numbers there. What I wanted to point out here is that your first 5 years, you have less than a 1.5% difference over those 5 years, okay? Very, very stable population, okay? And then what I did want to point out is in the last 2 years, you have zero development, okay? Zero development being applied in those last 2 years. All we have right now that we know of is the first 8 years. All right, next slide, please. And again, just another visualization to show how stable you guys are. You see this lovely chart that almost looks like the straight line across the top, okay? Next slide. All right, so this is our net change map. Most of you have seen this before. Colors basically means darker green areas is where you are seeing the most decline. And I say decline loosely. It's up to 20 students lost in that area. And then in the red pockets, you're seeing up to 57 students. And those line up with where your development is. The gray areas, there's no change in those areas. And anything in the light green or light orange are just anywhere from just minimal change. Next slide, please. Okay, so per request, we're going to look at Pittsburgh Elementary School as well as O-Block at a little bit more of a deeper look. And so Pittsburgh Elementary School, you are seeing that we are starting off with 730, actually 730 enrollment. And we are kind of seeing a decline in that specific area, most likely due to there's not enough development in that area, first of all, to lift that. And the mobility, if we were to go back and look at mobility, I can eyeball over here. Mobility in O-Block, that's where you do see the 0.99 and the 0.93, happening. Still pretty stable in the mobility, but there is just not enough development to offset those lower birth rates. Lower birth rates is what's kind of driving this decline that you see happening, 95 to 85. Again, focusing more on the first 5 years. Looks about a 0.53 difference, 0.25 between the current year and 5 years from now. Next slide, please. O-Block. O-Block is on the opposite side of the spectrum. We have we're starting at 503, but due to that 70% development, 70% of the development is happening here, but you also have higher rates of mobility, and more families are moving into this area, so you do have that increased enrollment that we anticipate happening at upwards of 108% capacity. If we were to go even further and look at, there could be even 110% capacity, but that's what we're looking at right now. Let's look at the next charts, next slide, please. And you can kind of see, it's almost as if they're working in opposite tandem together, where you have Pittsburgh is kind of gradually going down, but stabilizing. You have this downward trend, and then O-Block is the opposite, where you have this slight increase and then stabilization. Next slide, please. And then just another way to summarize this data and look at it from base year to 5 year and 10 years out. I can't stress this enough. Overall, the district is very, very stable. You're looking at approximately 45 student drop between now and 5 years from now, and at most 100 students between now and 1 year now and 10 years from now. Should all trends continue, that's what we're expecting. Next slide, please. So, in summary, O-Block area is the driving the growth, estimated 5%, while Pittsburgh is expected to decline approximately about 16%. I know that number sounds alarming, but it's over the next 5 years. Population in grades 5 through 6, you will see an estimated 9% increase by school year 2028, approximately 48 students. And if I recall correctly, that was the same trend we were seeing 2 years ago. And the middle school, 7-8 student population can see an estimated 12% increase also, due to smaller classes matriculating out and larger classes matriculating in, right? Because you've got that, as those kids matriculating from grade to grade, you start to see those nuances happen a lot faster or a lot more noticeable when you have a 2-grade configuration. And in high school, 9-12 will decrease approximately over the next 5 years due to the smaller class sizes matriculating in, but not very much. So, next slide, please. And now we have reached the end of my presentation, and I know several of you probably have questions. I am now open to answer.
Thank you for sharing that. Does anyone on the board have questions for Georgia?
I'd like to, I would want to point out something that I believe was significant. In our ongoing conversations with Davis Demographics, when you look at our overall population, it's flat. But when you start to disaggregate the data and you start to drill down, those slides in regards to what is happening in our O block attendance area, in our PIVIC attendance area, is very informative for this board. For instance, when we were looking at both buildings and capacity and looking at full-day kindergarten and what it would take in regards to manage that capacity, PIVIC was on the table in regards to needing to do some renovations. Based on this data, I don't believe there needs to be any renovations at PIVIC, which is significant to know. But we're still left with looking at the Hayes Design Group, the financial picture. Now that we have the demographics, this is where the big decisions need to occur. This board has had opportunities to visit both of those buildings, and I think the consensus, and correct me if I'm wrong, that O Block Elementary and the middle school need significant work in regards to infrastructure. So this is one more piece of the puzzle for us to consider. But also, full-day kindergarten, looking at these capacities, is also what previous boards have directed the administration to look at. The kindergarten task force, their recommendation was in the 25-26 school year to revisit that. There's also a financial piece to that decision also that I would want you to be mindful of. So I appreciate the report because on face value it looks like our attendance is flat, but what is happening in our elementary attendance areas is important information for this board to know in regards to next steps.
And I think, Dr. Walsh, to add to that, and we had a citizen who said that tonight, that we have to be fiscally responsible. We have to consider taxes, and I would clearly say that our budget isn't done. We have not agreed to raise taxes yet at a specific amount, even though I know some things get printed differently, but that decision hasn't come all the way to fruition yet. And that process will evolve in the coming months to see where we land on our budget. But I think it's important for us to have a long-term plan, and I know, Mr. Stropke, that's something that you want to be able to do as well, is to have a long-term plan, just like any of us try to do on our own personal budgets, to be able to do that for the school district as well. And this board overturns every 2 years in some form or fashion, and I think for us, doing our due diligence like this Davis Demographics does for us tonight, but to do that due diligence and then be able to do some long-term strategic planning so that we aren't making decisions every 2 years and things aren't overturning every 2 years, but that we can help set a path forward, I think is really important.
Yeah. I'll just reiterate what you said, Dr. Anderson, is that, I talked to Mr. Manzer actually yesterday again, looking at not just the budget for next year, but it's looking 3, 5, and 10 years. Beyond 10, it's just like the demographic study. Once you get beyond 10, you're just grasping for a number and you're putting out a placeholder there. But I think when we're looking at projects, we're looking at projects, sorry about that, 3, 5, and 10 years, not just today, and how that impacts not only the school district, but the taxpayers of the borough. So we have to be cognizant of both parties and do our best to be fiscally responsible to both parties.
And I'll be the first to say I don't even think it's an elephant in the room anymore, but the discussion of full-day kindergarten, while I would say I appreciate the work of the task force to say, and to do all of what they did and to say revisit it in 25, 26, but we have decisions to make before 25, 26 that we have before us that I think we have to take it into consideration before 25, 26. Anyway.
In the next, and just real quick, just in the next 2 to 3 months when we start the budget workshop in March, March, April, and May are going to be 3 critical months of studying the finances of the district. Not just again for next year, but for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years.
There was one thing that I believe was clear during the board walkthroughs, was that the experiences that our students, our youngest students have in K through 4. The facilities are much different at O Block than they are at PIVIC. And they should be comparable in regards to the environment in which our students learn. I think we've seen from walking to one room to the next that the HVAC was close to 90 degrees in one room and 60 in another. The infrastructure of O Block Elementary is not like it was when I was a student there. So, and this is a piece of the puzzle because by taking O Block off the table, or I'm sorry, Pivot off the table, that was what, 1.5 million? So I appreciate Davis Demographics in doing such a comprehensive review of our demographics and looking at our population. Is it perfect? Probably not, but it's been pretty accurate. We can't predict the pandemic or the interest rates or what construction is going to look like in some of the neighborhoods. I can share with you that when I was growing up in Plum, the neighborhood my parents built a house, the interest rates jumped to 18%. There was 3 houses on that street for about 5 years. So there are some unknowns. So I want to thank Georgianne for her time.
I have a couple of questions.
Oh, you have questions? I'm sorry.
And I submitted a lot of questions, maybe not a lot, a handful. One is that the jump from kindergarten to first grade that we see, and I don't like that the red line is through it because I have to decipher what is underneath that red line. Is that considering the kids that go to Holy Family because they're going there for full day kindergarten and then they come back to the school district for first grade? I want to make sure we're accounting for those students that are doing that. In addition, I'm not finished, this EDS ordeal. I want to know how many classrooms they're taking up at Holiday Park.
Just one room.
So we could actually hold another class in that room.
Absolutely. And it's been flexible. As the enrollment has been increasing at O Block, it was moved from O Block.
Right.
Pivot was, if you remember, not too long ago, Pivot was sharing the STEM and the library space together.
Yes.
There's a little bit of room to breathe at Pivot this year, and the thought was to move EDS back to Pivot. It is convenient for parents that students are not getting on the bus. They walk from the kindergarten classroom next door to the classroom, the EDS classroom. But when we need space, they've been nothing but accommodating to work with us, and we could move both of those classrooms, if necessary, to Holiday Park because they have the space.
So to my next point, if we go with full day kindergarten, all of a sudden we have space and a for-profit company is away from our district. They could run their after-school program somehow, some way, and we could utilize our classroom space. to
Absolutely.
educate kids.
If we have a full day program, there wouldn't need to be a need
Right.
for a K-plus program. So those classrooms would
Right.
not exist unless the
And
parent.
that's what we should be doing, is educating kids in those classrooms.
Yes, absolutely. And to your point, and feel free to correct me on this, but if each student is geolocated, so wherever they're going, that data is taken into
Right.
account for when they go the matriculation from kindergarten to first grade. Okay.
Bless you.
So they're included in that number?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I cared about, is that we don't lose that, because I know that that's happening.
Our mobility, now granted, consider the fact that y'all's resident students very, very closely lines up with your enrollment numbers, but the mobility is calculated spatially. It doesn't take enrollment into consideration, it looks at where those students live, right?
Okay.
And so that's how mobility is calculated, is where that student lives, what grade are they in, and what's going to happen in that specific study area as they transition from one grade to the next. Okay? I'm hoping that helps. Yes?
Any other questions? Michelle, you said you had a few. Any others?
I'm guessing they'll be answered at some point. Okay. Those are my biggest, was the kids from, I'm sorry, the kids from Holy Family. Are we accounting for them, and how are we accounting for them, and how much space is EDS actually taking in the buildings?
I have a sneeze coming. I don't know when it's coming.
I think that's everything. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Y'all are so very welcome. I hope to get to work with you guys again soon. If you do have any additional questions after I log off, please just get them over to Jennifer, or she'll be sure that they come to me, and I will get to them as soon as I can. If y'all need anything else, call me. I hope you have a fantastic evening and happy Valentine's Day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You too.
We're not moving anything forward, right? All right. Letter C, the AIU Annual Kindergarten Transition MOU for the 23-24 to 24-25 school year. Anything to add to that? Just an annual document. Any questions or concerns? Do we have 5 to move it forward? Thank you. And then letter D, Dr. Walsh requesting to attend the 2024 PASA Leadership Forum, March 13th through the 15th in Hershey at a cost of $1,500. Do you have anything you want to add about what's coming for that?
Hershey in March. Wonderful.
Yeah. This conference particularly is going to focus on innovation, something that this board will hear in the months to come in regard to talking about what a graduate should look like when they go through the Plum Borough school system. What do we expect from them? What do our program of studies look like? And what are the opportunities that are out there that we can bring in-house? But also part of this conference is going to be on the new legislation in regards to looking at the school calendars, what the new regulations in regards to how they will impact the school district. And I've always found PASA workshops, especially this leadership forum, from what I hear, is worth the time and effort to go to bring back that information to the school district. So
I appreciate your willingness to go into Hershey in March. But yeah, I think it'll be well worth the money and the information you'll be able to bring back. Any questions or concerns? Do we have 5 to move it forward? Thank you. Okay, the doctoral candidates survey from Ms. Maines. Dr. Boyers, are you going to speak to that?
Absolutely, Dr. Anderson. So Ms. Maines is a doctoral candidate with the University of Pittsburgh, and I have the pleasure of serving on her dissertation committee. Ms. Maines is focused on mindfulness, and so she conducted her research and has worked with a couple of our teachers who took a particular interest in this area, and they're working on different instructional strategies that can be utilized with students to increase mindfulness. So in accordance with policy 235.1, I'm bringing this forward for consideration. It will impact roughly 100 students. Students do not have to participate. Parents will be provided a letter indicating what the student is engaging in for the survey completion, but regardless, the instructional practices are research-based and students will still engage in those throughout the teaching and learning opportunities.
And this information was provided if you guys... The information, if you guys had a chance to take a look at it, I know Dr. Richardson, you did, was given to you ahead of time. Is there any other further questions or concerns with it? It's always great to have, it's bad to say great to have research, but I would say great to have educational research that's, you know, hopefully on the cutting edge and doing things that are positive for our students and for our students. Even to see that educational research happening and understanding a little bit, I think is positive. So do we have 5 to move that forward? Wonderful. Okay, so that's all for academic achievement and activities, community engagement, inclusion, and outreach.
Madam President, I'd like to mention 2 things under academic and activities.
Are they related to anything on the agenda?
No.
Okay, then no.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, Davis, our community engagement, inclusion, and outreach, Dr. Richardson, there's nothing on the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to finance. Mr. Stropke, lead board liaison.
Letter A is the monthly reports for January. Mr. Manzer, do you have anything to add to the reports that were issued prior to the meeting?
Nothing specific to report, thank you.
So we just need 5 to move the reports forward. Letter B, Mr. Manzer is requesting to attend the PASBO conference March 5th through 8th in Hershey at approximate cost of $1,400 to the district. We have 5 to move that forward. Any comment for the PASBO for the
I appreciate you supporting me attending. It's a great professional development for me personally. They provide a lot of classes that we're able to attend that are hosted by several experts throughout the state in the business and outside consultants as well. And they typically pull in some people from Harrisburg also to present to us. Additionally, great to find some of those resources and bring those back to the district. There's always some things you pick up along the way that some other districts are doing or that some vendors maybe ought to provide, and being able to bring those resources back. So I always look forward to this conference and being able to develop personally and also add value to the district.
I would concur, and I actually participated in the governor's budget workshop with PSBA, and I think there's probably going to be a lot of conversation that's going on at that conference as well as to how basic ed funding is going to operate, and again, how the legislature maneuvers through that and those reports, and so I think there'll be a wealth of conversations and knowledge to bring back.
We have 5 to move that one forward?
Yep.
We're good? Right. And then item C is the One Governmental Procurement Alliance Agreement. It's a co-op purchasing agreement, which is something new. Mr. Manager, do you just want to speak briefly?
Yep, so we participate in several of these cooperative purchasing arrangements. One is with the IU, I think that you're familiar with it, we approve every year. Others are local to the state, CoStars, Peplum, those things. This one actually relates to the item in operations for the transportation software to purchase the equipment. Related to that is that they have participated in bid as a part of this cooperative purchasing arrangement. So they call it One GPA. And so it's just an agreement between us and the cooperative purchasing arrangement to say that we can purchase through their pre-bid items. And it's pretty simple standard agreement. Doesn't really have any obligations on either side, but just allows us to participate.
Yeah. So 5 to move that one forward. Okay, that's all we have tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stropke. Okay, so Forbes Road CTC, we don't have anything this evening. Intergovernmental, Mr. Stropke and Mr. Caligiuri. Do you want to just give our report later this month? Does that work? Okay, great. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay, perfect. So legislative, Ms. Stepnick, we have a couple items on there.
I do. The first is, I'd mentioned last month at our voting meeting about the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. I believe we all should have received some information about open board seats. I did participate in my first training, or a 2-hour crash course, I guess, if you will, on who does what and who is in what part of their leadership team yesterday. And they asked if I would run again for my seat, and I'm happy to, unless anybody else on the board would like to. I'm happy to have that conversation, but we will see. We have to turn in, I guess we would vote as a board, and then I'd have to turn in, and whoever would have to turn in that information by early March. So we would present to, I guess, other board members throughout our AIU members to vote, right? Again, it goes back to that part of it, how everybody votes. So for new board members, you'll actually get a packet in the mail that will allow you to vote for those members, right? You'll see who they are. And at the legislative forum in middle of March, all candidates will have 1 hour prior to that forum to present themselves and their roles and responsibilities and their time on the AIU board. And that kind of gives a name and face value to everybody. I hope I did that right. Mm-hmm. And then the other is the Allegheny County Health Insurance Consortium. We previously did have Mr. Hill on that board. And I would encourage somebody from this district to participate. Healthcare is always a complex conversation that goes on annually, and having somebody have a voice and that direct connection is always beneficial. So if anybody is interested, again, we should nominate and then vote is what we should do.
Okay. Do we want to take care of those too? So, Ms. Macro, do you want to do the?
Yeah, so.
Well, we wouldn't vote now, we would just.
We would take nominations
Yeah.
now,
Right, and
so
we would vote, right.
is there anybody that would either like to nominate another board member or themselves to be considered for the Allegheny County Intermediate Unit term that is coming up and starting in June?
I'd be happy to nominate Ms. Stepnick.
Second that.
Are there any other nominations for that particular item? So for each of these boards, we can only vote to move forward one candidate. So if we get multiple nominations at the action meeting, you can vote between the two and we can move one forward. No one else for Allegheny County Intermediate Unit. How about Allegheny County School Health Insurance Consortium? The only caveat they have to this is that you cannot be personally involved, as in employed by, or have some type of conflict of interest within a health care company. So as long as you're not personally involved, you're not employed by a healthcare company, you may serve on this board. Is there anybody that would be interested in being on this board or would like to nominate another board member?
It's a good opportunity to have a voice.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and close that. So we do have Mrs. Stepnick nominated for Allegheny County Intermediate Unit, and no one is nominated for the Health Insurance Consortium.
Perfect, thank you.
Let me put my glasses back on. The last thing I have is our Advocacy Day in Harrisburg with PSBA. I always just pay my way. It's not a big deal at all. But it's a good opportunity to, again, gather with other colleagues throughout the state and go as team members to our respective legislators' offices, but in addition, hope to have an opportunity to educate legislators from outside of our district on what we're doing and some of the decisions they make there, how they impact us, right? They might hear from their locals, but I like to go in and say, here's my packet and here's how this information, will benefit us. So I will go on that Monday, and I think we have a board meeting right after or the following week. So I'll be able to give a report as to how that went.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we need to vote for her to be able to go? Oh.
I think we just move it forward. I
Yeah,
just
do we
wanted to
have
make
5
sure
to
it
move it
was
forward?
out there.
Okay. Operations, Mr. Adams, lead board liaison.
Yes, good evening. First item A there is our TransFinder transportation software contract. I don't know if Dr. Boyers or the manager want to touch on that.
I'll take it. So we have Mr. Coles here tonight. He's going to give just a brief overview of the process that we followed. As you know, we've been focusing on transportation and providing several upgrades to that department along the way, and this is a critical need that they've identified, and we're happy to present a recommendation for a new software system. Mr. Coles, you can give a brief overview.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So over the last couple of months since I've started, we have looked at several different transportation providers, or software providers, excuse me. TransFinder being one, Transversa, which is Tyler Solutions, is one. There was a third one that wasn't very cooperative with us, so we kind of just let them go. As we were going through these different solutions, a lot of districts locally are using TransFinder. I was able to go out to many different districts, kind of play around with the software, see how it would work, see how much of a difference it would make for us and make it easier for us to be able to transport our students, updating students, bringing our new students in and getting them the transportation that they needed. It's a very hands-on and interactive system that makes things a lot easier for us. Transversa wasn't a horrible solution, but there were some difficulties there that we didn't have with TransFinder. Sorry, two trans, and it's a little crazy there. Sorry. We didn't have with TransFinder. We also didn't have many districts locally that used Transversa, so it was harder to get a better understanding of it. They do have an older solution which I've used in the past that wasn't a horrible system, but compared to what products are now, this one is going to be the easiest one for us to use. So we are hoping for your approval to move forward with the purchase of this software system.
it was interesting that we noted too in this presentation the geocoding and going through this process is that they do a similar exercise. They geocode to the exact home, so there's no confusion on which stop the student should be assigned and how far it would take to go from their home to the stop. And then we also did work with technology, set in on all of our presentations, and they agreed also with a recommendation, and we'll be connecting in the student software Sapphire to TransFinder as well, and that'll provide some really accurate data. That's what we're trying to get, is accuracy. It'll provide efficiencies. And then there's also a component on this is that we're driving resources all the way to the driver, and this proposal has a Samsung Galaxy or something like that, GPS type unit on the school bus, and that'll provide turn-by-turn navigation, and it'll also provide student information to the driver of who should be getting on the bus and when. And we think that's a really critical piece, is to connect the data from the system, the software, all the way to the driver. And even just something as simple as learning student names can really go a long ways, and knowing who's on the bus if something happens on the bus, who exactly was attending that day, would be something that we think is going to be really valuable, and certainly an upgrade to the current system that we have.
Does that mean, so a substitute driver, the GPS will show them the route they're supposed to be?
Yes.
Oh, that
If someone like me, brand new in the district, I can get in a bus, it'll tell me, make a left on Elicker Road, and it'll direct me exactly where we drop off.
Because those are some of my funniest stories from my children, is when the substitute bus driver doesn't know where they're going.
If they had me, I apologize.
And this system does have additional components. We've tried to limit this for the initial rollout, but there are additional components that once we have the initial phase rolled out, we'll evaluate them. They're not necessary, but we'll continue to evaluate.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Five on that?
Yep.
All right, next item is our 6-month required review of the health and safety plan. Pretty sure this is just a renewal with date changes, as a requirement. But any questions or any statement on that before?
As long as we're using federal funds from the pandemic, we're required to move this and review it every 6 months. So date changes were the only modifications.
And that ends when?
Well, I do appreciate the federal money coming in.
I do too, but. But there is an end to it.
Yeah.
All right, 5 for that.
305.
And then our last item is the grass cutting contract renewal with our, I think it's our existing vendor there. So any comments on that?
We just appreciate DeJonovic Landscaping and the job that they do. We've always hear positive comments on our outside facilities, and continuing, with a local vendor too that knows our district well is something that I've really appreciated since I've been here, and I think serves the district well, and very reasonable rate and increase as well. So we're happy to continue the relationship.
Yeah, it's locked in for 3 years, I believe. Okay. All right, 5 on that one. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Wonderful. Personnel, we won't talk about until we vote on it next week, the end of the month. So no other items, personnel policy or student services. So upcoming public meeting, a board action meeting on Tuesday, February 27th, 2024, 7 p.m. here in the library. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, have a great night.
I don't think anybody's got the baby yet, so you can change it for the day. I mean, it's only 2 hours left. Yeah, I'm not sure she gets that.
Yeah.
Most people, they don't let them out. I know you would handle it. It's something else.
How are you? I'm hanging in there.
We're trying to support. Oh, thank you. I can't. I can do it. I've been doing it. I can't have this.
If you could mention that to the group.
I will. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not that piece doesn't like food. I like gifts. I love sugar. Yeah,
Let's go.
How are you? Hey, same
Yeah, I was going to know for sure.
Do the same.
Okay, sure. It's like,
She wants to sit at the table.
How you doing, man? Good to see you guys.
Yeah. How you been?
Busy.
You taking over for Brian tonight, or did you take over for Brian?
He's got the earlier shift.
You got the earlier shift
later
now,
one.
just today?
Yeah, just this week.
Okay.
So you guys got the demographic study. Dr. Walsh was talking about how the numbers indicate, PIVOT is okay for right now. It seems like OBOC may be over capacity in the next couple of years. So is that, I guess that shifts the focus for you guys right now. So is PIVOT off the table?
Right now, doing any renovations? Probably, but I wouldn't say it's totally off, but it's probably not based on the situation. Now we're looking at OBOC Elementary, which is the old center, and the middle school as far as facilities.
You guys, I think it was like what, last month or 2 months ago? No, I think it was in January. You guys were talking about it was like 60 million.
Yeah, the total was, it's almost, it was 60 plus million total for all three windows. The smallest one being 10, I think it was only about a million.
So would you guys, would that $1.5 million go to OBOC?
Well, what we're doing first of all is trying to decide how much we can afford. So we had the bond company back in January. We met with them. Putting the budget together, and now we're starting to put a 3, 5, and 10-year plan together. What we can afford, can we afford? Is the number 30 million? Is the number 70 million? How much can we afford? Once we know how much we're willing to go out there and spend, then we'll decide how we're going to allocate it across.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you guys could borrow between like 30, 35 million?
That was basically what the bond all had. It was between 30 and 35.
So roughly 60 million is total project, 30 is what you guys can have. Do you guys have like a capital improvement fund or anything you guys can drop in?
Not significant.
So this would be like all.
There's some local requirement from it, which would require, maybe a slight tax increase if we had to. The tax increase, if we were to do, would just be for current operations, not for projects.
That was my next question. Based on the bonds and I know you guys haven't made decisions, you guys don't
Yeah.
have to do a budget until June, right?
Yeah, so March, so next meeting will be a budget, not next meeting, March. March is first meeting of March, will be the budget workshop meeting. We'll be talking openly in the public. Finance, beginning stages. Fiscal 24, 25 budget's gonna look like. And also starting improvement projects down the road.
Based on the information you guys have over the past, month or two with the bond people, with the other guys.
The study with the Hayes Design Group, which did the building, that's now going to drive what our 3 to 5 to 10-year plan is.
Do you anticipate potential tax increase going into next year?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know. We won't go above the index of 7.1. So in the January meeting, we had a commitment by January 9th to go, so we have to go above our index of set by the state at 7.1%. So we can't go over that, but we haven't even discussed the number what that amount of increase is.
The state's giving you like a.
It's usually only around 4 or 5. Yeah, so it's 7.1 is a big difference. But, obviously, we don't have to go that high.
When's the budget workshop, March what?
Jen probably has, she might have.
You like the first Monday?
The second Tuesday, right?
Second Tuesday?
Yeah.
Alright, so second Tuesday in the month.
So March and April is when we're going to be getting into the numbers. May's when we'll do a preliminary, probably a preliminary. Here's what it looks like. And then June, so the public has time to respond. We would present.
These chairs go around these and around.
Passed in June. Oh, that's not passed.
You say preliminary budget. You guys are working on a 3, 5, and 10-year plan.
On top of that.
On top of that.
These projects, these are big projects.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are putting on additions, right, to the.
Well, that's what's in this design. So we're going to have to hold.
Additions to both Oak Block and the.
That was in their mind.
Yeah, the other one was in that.
A lot of it is just interior. Both buildings have AC, probably each AC needs to be addressed.
I wish you guys well, man. Appreciate you.
Lost the mouse.
I didn't lose it. He was just trying to steal it.
It's on the floor.
Oh, did it fall?
Oh, that's pushing that down.
Is that mine or somebody else's? Is that stuck mine in?
Well, yeah, just make sure you have yours. If it's not, then I'll take it and.
Maybe I did stick it. Make sure to put it in the other pocket. Maybe I thought I stuck it in and it fell as I was. No, we're good now. It's me. If I was at home, I'd be blaming my wife for us being late going out the door. But today, it's me. I'm like, oh. All right, kick me out.
Get out.
Kick me out. Make me go home.
Go home.
Let's go somewhere.
You want to go home? You can't stay here.
Can't stay here.
I'm just gonna fold these and set these right up here. Go ahead, well, I got one. Oh, I didn't know, all right. Mike did that. Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Making these a little shorter. They're about 7.5 minutes long, move in and out. Here's probably watching every day. I get it.